Analytics has the Bears' projected win total at 8.5. Chicago has a 42% chance to make the playoffs in that division. Wow. It ranks 8th in the NFC. 7 teams, by the way, make the playoffs, meaning that the Bears would be the first team out. But I can tell you the greatest thing you can tell a fan base is hope. And with that, it's been a while since the Bears fan base has felt really good about this. So now they get the number 1 pick in-house, and that is Caleb Williams. What are you hearing about his adjustment here from a star in the college game to now getting ready for the pro level?
Yeah, Kevin, I'm told that Caleb Williams used OTAs and minicamp for what it's for, to see what he can get away with. He used that big arm to see where he could squeeze a pass in between 2 defensive backs in coverage. So he was open to making mistakes, knowing that it's going to pay off in August and September. But I was told his arm strength was apparent, and he largely got away with a lot of those throws. He was able to squeeze it in there. I also talked to his quarterbacks coach, Will Hewlett, who prepped him for the draft. He said that Williams has really taken to the run-based play-action offense. Ever since late March, early April, he was prepping for that for Chicago with what he's going to have to do with the footwork and the handoffs. He said he knows that's going to protect him long-term.
Okay, when you look at the situation that Williams is entering here, Lewis, no other quarterback has entered, number 1 overall, has entered a better situation when it comes to weapons and options. What are the realistic expectations here for Williams and the Bears in season 1?
Look, I think this is a football team that can make drastic improvements. Look, I think the NFC North will be one of the most competitive divisions in all of football, considering the young offensive firepower that exists with all these football teams and the amount of attention that's going to be paid to the quarterback position first and foremost. Could this be a team that rises up and surprises people? Yeah, it could, because, person for person, when you're looking at it on a piece of paper or on a computer screen, they have weapons that can match up with anybody, specifically offensively, and they have an offensive line that is very underrated. The key is this: the relationship between Caleb and Shane Waldron, the new offensive coordinator. Can Shane allow Caleb to control things on the football field to the degree where Caleb is able to consistently make good decisions, not turn the football over, not to put the ball in harm's way, not turn every play into the ad-lib play, which he knows he is spectacular at, and he knows that he can't get away with in the NFL, so much so to the point where they're able to score enough points, ride that defense, ride the running game, and continue to compete with the likes of Detroit and Minnesota and Green Bay, who are going to be darn good. So could they rise up and surprise people? Of course they could. Because 1 through 53, they're as good as any team in their division. They really are when you look at it, okay, on paper. But we know the games aren't played on paper. That's what makes the North, I think, the division to watch this year. Young quarterbacks, lots of offensive firepower, young perimeter players all over the place. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I love your point, Lewis. It's not played on paper, but on the grass, this Chicago Bears team, specifically their defense, they showed up at the end of last season. And why was it at the end of last season? Well, remember, early in the year, their defensive coordinator had to leave. He left the team. He was fired. There were some issues going on. So all of a sudden, Matt Eberflus, the head coach, started calling defensive plays. There are also some injuries throughout the middle of the season. But now, not only are they healthy, not only have they have another year in this defense, but they've added some weapons. They went and got Kevin Byard, who in his career has 28 interceptions. That's top 3 since he got into the league. They re-signed Jalen Johnson, one of the top corners in the league. Tremaine Edmonds, back healthy. Montez Sweat, still on that defensive line. And so that defense can carry this team. For me, the limiting factor or limiting reactant is going to be Caleb Williams. What can he do? How quickly can he learn and adjust and adapt, not just to his defense when he plays in practice and OTAs and training camp and minicamp, when it comes to real games, live action? That's going to be the key for this team.
Right now we're discussing, because we're still over 2 months away, stuff on paper. I could say this on paper. Keep in mind, the Bears have the easiest schedule out the gate in the first 10 games. They don't play a division opponent till week 11.
42% chance is way too low to me. I think they absolutely make the playoffs. Yes, their division is brutal. That division is only going to get harder and harder for years to come, and it's going to be a gauntlet, and I'm so excited. All of those divisional games are going to be can't miss TV, and I can't wait. As a fan of football, I really just can't wait. But this season specifically, the Bears absolutely have the opportunity to get in the playoffs. And I think that's what the question is, which no one really wanted to answer, what are the realistic expectations for Caleb Williams' first season with the Bears? The realistic expectations are this. It's as clear as day to me. He's going to have some great games. He's going to have some bad games. He's going to have some amazing throws. He's going to have some terrible throws. He's going to carry that team in some moments, and in other moments, the team's going to carry him. Okay? He's going to say some perfect things at the mic, and sometimes he's going to say something where you're like, probably shouldn't have said that. And at the end of the day, they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, they have a great roster. They have a great team. We know Caleb Williams is great. I understand people love to just jack up the expectations, or I shouldn't say the expectations, the intensity of the moment, and say he's either going to be a Hall of Famer fresh out the gate and win a Super Bowl, or he's a bust. It's like we've lost the ability to look at the nuance and kind of address things. Because I already know how this season's going to go. He's going to have a game that he plays really well, and they're going to talk about it on every single show. You know, NFL Live, First Take, First Things First, The Herd. It's just gonna be like, is Caleb Williams already the best quarterback in the NFL? You know, and then he's gonna have a bad game or just kind of a questionable game, and they're gonna say, should Caleb Williams have been drafted number 1? Should the Chicago Bears have traded, Justin Fields? And it's just going to be like just nonsense. It's going to be all the extremes of going to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And it's going to be whiplash. And people are already saying in the comment section that they think that the Bears are going to drop 4 out of 5 of their first games. And it's like, okay, sure, whatever you say. Like, everyone is so confident in their predictions, and I always find it funny. And in truth, I don't think the prediction of them making the playoffs even really says that much about the Bears. I don't think it's a far stretch, because when you look at the math and you look at the available teams that can make the playoffs, the Bears are there. The Bears are at least the 7th best team in the NFL, in the NFC. That's the way I'm looking at it. They are at least the 7th best team. It's just that straightforward to me. Because it's not like the other divisions are stacked. It's not like the Giants are going to be stacked. It's not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are stacked. The Panthers have finally got their act together and they're stacked. That's not the case here. So I think there will be fighting, right? Because they're either going to be fighting for the wild card, or if Caleb Williams truly proves to be him and truly proves to be the most transcendent talent we have ever seen and can absolutely hit the ground running, then I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to be fighting for the division. I don't think that's going to happen, because the Packers and the Lions are already well poised to do that. But the reality is, since that division is such a gauntlet, if they all split with each other, then it will really come down to who's winning the other games. So you don't really know. Like, it is very interesting. And I think the Minnesota Vikings are a dark horse team, because a lot of people count them out because they're like, well, JJ McCarthy doesn't have the same type of pool as a Caleb Williams, as well as, people think Sam Darnold's no one. And if Sam Darnold ends up being an actual legit good quarterback, then the Minnesota Vikings are not an easy out either. So this division is just going to be wildly, wildly, wildly exciting. But to just focus more on the Bears itself and Caleb Williams, I think also the fact that the defense, if the defense has finally righted the ship and they are now legit, like you can see, defense allowed 15.5 points per game in the final 6 games of 2023. If that trend continues, oh my God, does that make Caleb Williams' life easier to just the massive degree. It's no longer about Caleb Williams being magical and doing all this crazy stuff. It's just letting Caleb play good, consistent, conservative football where you don't have to do all this off the book stuff. And to me, that'll be one of the best things for him to do, because it'll get him to kind of get settled in the fundamentals. Because usually when you have a quarterback like a Caleb Williams, who has the toolbox that he has where he can do all this amazing magical stuff, oftentimes they get drafted to a team that's not very good. So they always are behind. So there are always opportunities for that quarterback to do all that type of stuff. And because of that, you start to pick up bad habits. You start to lean on it too much. It's their safety net. It's their security blanket. It's what they've done their whole lives, their whole careers. It's their get out of jail free card. Anytime something's going bad or something's happening, they know that they can just do all this crazy magical stuff, scramble for 45 seconds and throw a bomb, right? You can't necessarily do that consistently in the NFL. Not even Patrick Mahomes can consistently do that in the NFL. So if the Chicago Bears don't ask him to do that game after game after game, he doesn't pick up some of these bad habits. He doesn't have some of these awful throws where you're like, all right, man, that worked in college. That does not work here. You don't have that. And I think it was great reporting that they said that he was taking these chances in OTAs and whatnot. And so he's kind of figuring out, like, he's not afraid to make those mistakes now, because now it shows what you're capable of what you can and can't do at the NFL level. And I think that's brilliant, because a lot of rookies are afraid to make those mistakes and they just want to look good. They just want to prove to everyone that they're good. It's not even that they're trying to show everyone their super fancy stuff. It's that they just don't want to make a mistake. And there's a big difference. Sometimes you want to show the team and the players and the coaching staff and the media and whoever that, look what I can do. But also it's like, look how I don't make mistakes. Like, I just don't want to mess up. I just don't want to look like I don't belong here. And those are two wildly different things. It seems like Caleb Williams has entered this preseason in a way where he's completely fearless and he's totally okay with making mistakes, because ultimately it's going to make him better when it actually matters. So I think this is all very, very great optimistic news for the Chicago Bears. As you can tell, I'm very high on them. I don't know what they're going to do. Some people are calling them to, get to the Super Bowl, or Caleb Williams win the MVP, right? Like, I think that's a bridge too far. But I think realistic expectations is that Caleb Williams can have a great season with, of course, not so great moments as any quarterback, will have. And I think reaching the playoffs, absolutely. And then they can absolutely win a playoff game, but it'll be depending upon who they play, right? Are they playing the number 1 seed? Like, who are they playing? And is it home? Is it away? What's the story there? What's the weather like? What's the health like? What's it's like? What is it there? But I am confident that if the Bears do make the playoffs, it won't be a team that everyone's dying to play. They're not going to be excited to play. I think it'll be one of those situations where the team rather play, let's say the Bears are the 6th seed. It'll be like the team rather play the 5 seed or the 6 seed rather than the 7 seed, right? They'll be like, is it better if the so-and-so loses this next game and drops down a seed so they don't have to face the Bears? Like, it'll be one of those things, very similar to what happened this past season in the NBA. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? What do you think the realistic expectations are for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.